I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good morning, Graham Arrowsmith. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful morning?
It's fantastic outside. It's quite light here in Yorkshire in England, and it's a beautiful day. It's cold, it's crisp, and I'm really excited to have a conversation with you, Angel.
I as well, my friend. Ooh, I got to listen to that podcast. Wow. That being said, which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time in life?
I think it might be the next 100 Days podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what attracted you to it.
Hey, definitely. Podcaster family podcaster. Pretty amazing stuff going on there. So tell us a bit about the next 100 days, please.
Well, it's a podcast that has been going on for about 2 years now, and we're running up to our 100th episode, which should come up before Christmas. And we're just a couple of 50-year-old blokes from the north of England who met as a result of another podcast. That was Jeremy Franson and Jason Van Orden's Internet Business Mastery, which we were fascinated with. And we both joined sort of an offshoot course that they laid on. And Kevin, my co-host, he followed up, and we found that we very quickly became firm friends.
Wow, the power of a conversation, the power of a podcast, right? Wow.
The nice thing was that Kevin and I actually started the podcast. We'd never met. And in fact, during the 2 years, I think we've had a round of golf, and we met once quite close to the Lake District in the north of England, as well, a beautiful part of the country. And so really, we've not exactly met that often, but we speak almost every day on Skype.
Yeah, it's intriguing. Effective virtual conversations, very powerful indeed. I think it speaks to... All right, so let me not get ahead of myself. So who did you learn the skill, my friend, of connecting from?
That's a good question. I think the answer, Angel, is that I did that when I was quite young. I think I've always been I've always had this bent towards networking. I'm not particularly good at joining things. It's like the sort of Marx comment about clubs that you wouldn't join. But the point being, they wouldn't have you as a member, sort of thing. But the point being is that networking with people, I'm fascinated with people, and so the podcast feeds that fascination, and just like your own efforts at the moment. The next 100 days attracts some absolutely fascinating people, and we have fun with them. And part of that connection that you have with people is about having fun, is about getting to know people quickly, and getting a sense of what they're all about. And I completely subscribe to the Zig Ziglar sort of thought process about helping others, and you'll end up being helped yourself. So in other words, it's that kind of thinking, I think. But I did it when I was really quite young. I was always kind of maybe on the periphery. And so sort of, at parties I would circulate. Poor wife, of course, left alone quite often, but she put up, and she has done for many years. So.
Yeah. We're definitely in the minority, the individuals that think if you help enough other people get what they want, you will in turn get what you want. That being said, even your dear wife, what she goes through, why will you continue?
I don't know. Well, I think she deserves more than one medal for looking after me and putting up with me for many years. But no, she's an inspiration to me, because she laughs at the things I say, which it makes me feel special. But she's probably laughing at me for all I know. But no, I just think it's one of those things. If you life's about people, it's not really about companies, and you know, it's about making connections with people, and you know, the older I get, the more precious those relationships are.
Beautiful. So I got to listen to this podcast. Your last guest, could you remember his name?
Yeah, he was an Australian. If that's the one that you're talking about.
Yes, because you guys really hit him pretty hard for being Australian. Yeah.
Well, I would say he started it, but in a really nice way. He's Michael Bungay Stanier, and he's an absolutely fascinating chap. And he wrote The Coaching Habit.
Yes.
And if anybody wants to be a better coach, you really couldn't find a simpler, more instructive book on coaching than Michael's book, which again is called The Coaching Habit. It sort of contains, it talks a little bit about habit, and then it goes on to talk about 7 questions that you can actually deploy, so you don't jump in and fix somebody's problem when they come to you for help or advice or whatever. So when you're at work and somebody comes, maybe a colleague or a member of your team, then it's 7 questions to help you steer a conversation that really helps the person asking the question, and it kind of deflects a little bit from you jumping in and solving their problem, which doesn't particularly help them grow. So he's a fascinating chap, and I really enjoyed his approach, and of course, being Australian and the Ashes coming. Well, we couldn't leave it unsaid, but we love the Australians. We really do.
It was a great conversation. I think the value as well that comes with a co-host is you immediately can step and live in your element, if you would, like naturally, because it's like 2 of you operating in a space. One is there, the other is there, and then there's a third person coming in. All right. That's so right. And he came in pretty strong. His skin is pretty thick. I'm very sure about that.
Oh, he's a very confident chap, and honestly, we seriously enjoyed his. I'd actually my son had bought the book for me as a birthday present, and I sort of relished reading it, and it's been very, very instructive. Honestly, get to know those questions. If you don't want to buy the book, then just listen to the podcast. But honestly, you will not. It will not. Well, it will repay you.
Yeah. I was listening to that podcast like 12 a.m. this morning, and I couldn't put it down. Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, it was really hard to put it down. Just not just the questions, but the way you guys really integrated with it. Like, if he didn't know his stuff, oh my, he would have died a slow death on that podcast.
Oh well, I don't think we're that fierce. I really don't. I think we're just having fun, and part of this is to and actually on many of the podcasts where we the guests are in tears and so forth. Not quite in tears, but in tears laughing. So it's that kind of I don't know. The point is, we're not taking ourselves. In the UK, we have an interview. Or we used to have an interviewer called Jeremy Paxman, who really put people on the spot. But that was kind of politicians and business leaders and so forth. This, on the other hand, it's much more friendly. It's about bringing almost coaching out the sort of successes, but more to the point, it's about getting to those things that can really help people over the next 100 days. And as a small business person, it's something that that's a kind of perspective many of us have. What can we get done in the next 3 months? And so that's the theme of the podcast.
Yeah, amazing audience. Like, I highly recommend it. Really amazing stuff. There are blacksmiths, but Graham is the Arrowsmith, so he gets to the point in a very beautiful way. Tell me, Graham, one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please.
Well, that would probably be blogging. I'm not a particularly good blogger. I've just done it consistently. It's almost like, if it's getting towards the end of the month and I haven't written my blog, I come out in a sweat. The one thing that I picked up from Jeremy Franson and Jason Van Orden and their podcast was they talked about being consistent and in their words, just showing up. Now, other people have talked about the same thing, but I think it was always important to me to actually add something to my business blog. So it's not absolutely critical that I do it, but I think it's something about having standards, and making sure that you create that time in the same way as we do that with podcast. I mean, that's been consistent as well. But it's, this over the last 3 years, I would say it's blogging.
How does that make you feel?
Well, it kind of makes me feel that I am capable of doing anything, because effectively, by having that consistency, by just showing up, then it's almost, yeah, you can do anything. You just stick at it. You've got that perspiration. You've got that energy to get things done. Because you're setting yourself a target and you're ticking that target off because you've moved to the next stage. So it makes me feel good that I've done it. And there's a sort of wonderful feeling once you've put one to bed, so then on to the next month.
Yeah, love it. Suggest to someone out there that's listening, Graham, speak to them. Why?
Well, I actually, I think your question was, would you suggest someone do what you've done? Now, if it was blogging, then I would say it's for the same reason that I said, yes, you probably would. But generally speaking, I probably wouldn't sort of advise people what I've done as such. I think my approach would be more to encourage them to do the things that they want to do, and find ways in which they can actually achieve their goals. So, I mean, a bit like, having children and allowing them to find their way. So your sort of interventions are all about how you can help them and reach their goals and perhaps overcome some of the obstacles along the way.
Where would you like us to go to learn more of what you do, Graham?
Well, there's two ways in which people can find me. One is my website, which is finallyfettled.co.uk, and the other one is the next100days.org, and that's the podcast site.
Wonderful. Well, amazing audience. We are live with Graham Arrowsmith, again, the podcast co-host of the Next 100 Days. So the Next 100 Days podcast. Graham, let's switch gears for a moment now, and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Graham, what is your earliest childhood memory?
Oh, I thought about this. It's being chased by a dog. I remember. I don't know. I must have been about 5 or 6, and I seem to remember my older brother Malcolm actually saved the day, but I don't know. It must have really got into my memory. Being chased by a dog.
Why do you think it's so clear?
I don't really know. My memory, generally speaking, is pretty poor, but I think it's stuck all these years, and I can visualize the road that it was happening on, just outside where we lived, and I can just see myself running. I don't know why that is. There must be some sort of deep-rooted. I've never been on the chair, so I don't know. Somebody somewhere will probably think, I know. But no, I don't think the dog bit me or anything. It was just being chased that probably.
Well, given the fact that you are on my virtual chair in my virtual time machine, can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Yeah, well, please do. Yeah.
I love the idea of, if we were to conceptualize a goal, if you would, given our personalities, it's a lot like setting yourself up to be chased by a dog, to be able to achieve the thing that you desire, because otherwise we would stay on that chair. So I like the idea of setting a goal, setting it high, setting the bar high, and then creating that effect as though the adrenaline, if you would, that would occur for you to pass your expectations. I love as well the fact that your brother saved you, just the aspect of accountability or partnership, even like what goes on with you co-hosting the podcast now, but a small cheat, if you would, that's necessary when putting yourself into the fire, the metaphoric fire. Go ahead.
I have to say that's probably saved me several £100 of fees on the chair. So yeah, a perfect summation of what's really gone on. And
love it. If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
I can never remember which one it was, but it was played on BBC Radio, and then I taped it onto one of these cassettes, rushed down to the disco and said, "Hey, guess what? Here is," because it was like the first release on radio. So I figured I must be one of the first DJs to play a David Bowie song. Claim to fame.
Love it. Well, Graham, hey, we have unfortunately arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Graham?
Yeah, I am ready.
Graham, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
I think so, yes.
Are you married?
I am.
Do you have children?
I have 3 children.
Wow, one boy. You spoke of one boy.
I have 2 boys and 1 girl.
Okay. Do you believe in God?
I do.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes, I do.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
I think so. I live next to my screen, so basically yes. I think I'm guilty of that.
Graham, after 1,001 conversations, I created this workbook that's called Yours, and it stands for your own unique real self. The idea being you answer questions that, through self-reflection, you save 700 pounds on the chair. I'm joking. No, it's really to connect you to your own unique real statement, which I believe is your mission. If you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Graham Arrowsmith, what would you say that is?
I think I picked this up from a senior military man that I went to look at, and he said 4 words, and I've often found them very helpful. You can change the words, but his words were train hard, fight easy.
Love it. Wow.
I might change some of the military aspects of that, but the same sentiment is there.
Well, Graham, this has been a great pleasure, my friend. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Well, first of all, you're all amazing out there. And I would love to hear from anybody who wishes to be part of the Next 100 Days podcast as well, because this has been a real pleasure. I am delighted to have been part of your mission, and I genuinely hope you succeed very soon.
Thank you very much, Graham Arrowsmith. Thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-minute convos with Angel Jones. Train hard and fight easy.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on 12-minute convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.